Wife wants to keep seeing the guy she's cheating on me with. My wife has been cheating on me with her ex for a month now. I want to leave her, but we have 3 kids together, and I can't do that to them. I've tried to talk to her, but she wants to continue to see him. I know she's under a lot of stress, but it's no excuse for what she's doing. Now my oldest found out and broke down, and I don't know how to handle it with her. 1. Kids know if you stay in a crappy relationship because of them. It's very possible that your kids might learn inappropriate behaviors by observing your wife's actions. Like it's okay to cheat, it's better to break up and find someone who actually loves you. A happier you is a better role model. 2. Your marriage cannot heal when your wife refuses to try and save it. This has ultimately destroyed the foundation of your family, and it needs to change. In other cases, your spouse is usually at least sorry about what they've done. Yours isn't. You can't move forward. My advice is to move on. Your oldest already knows. I would calmly and nicely explain the situation. Make sure not to trash or insult your wife in front of them. But don't lie either. If your wife feels brave enough to duck another man, then certainly it can be talked about. I cannot stress enough that your wife has gutted not just your relationship with her, but your family's structure. Regardless, I wish you the best of luck. Nobody deserves to go through what you are going through. Agree completely. Kids know. They always know. This is not a behavior you want them to learn and think is acceptable. To add, kids don't want their parents to be miserable, and if they know their parents are miserable being together, they will start to feel responsible. You will be a much better parent, and your kids will be happier if you get out of this marriage. Happy, healthy divorced parents are superior to angry miserable parents trapped in a failed marriage every time. Every time. Agreed, this is not the type of relationship you want your children growing up to think is normal or okay. For sure. My parents divorced because my mom was cheating, among other things. We found out, and my parents stayed together for a while. Things really just got worse. They've been separated for 5 years and divorced for 2, and since then they've become friends in separate relationships. I knew they were together for me and my siblings, and it made me feel guilty for their unhappiness. As someone who had her parents divorce when she was 6, it is okay to separate. All I remember about my parents is the fighting. I don't remember any good from their relationship. My stepmom raised me more than my mom did, and I'm so glad she was there. Don't stay together for the kids. Show them not to stay with someone who cheats. Show them you can be happy on your own. Then eventually, hopefully, show them you can be in a good relationship with someone that is not their mother. Do not spend your life like this. It will be tough for a while to adjust, but your kids will be fine, and probably better off with you separated. Show them what she did was not okay for a relationship, but also let them know she is still their mom and they can still love her regardless of what is happening between you two. Just please don't destroy yourself because you think staying together for the kids is best. Hey, you're going through something rough, but let me give you some of what happened to my family. My mother cheated on my father multiple times. From when I was about 9 to 14ish, I think. They split and got back together on and off. My dad only ever did it to keep the family together. Let me be clear. This does not keep a family together. My mother hurt my dad over and over and all to keep us under the same roof. But all they did was dislike each other and fight/argue. Being the oldest child made it hard because I didn't understand why and had to look after my younger siblings. Life got easier once they stayed divorced and lived their own lives. I lived with my dad, my 2 siblings with my mom. We made it work. Of course it's hard, but it was much better than crying myself to sleep listening to the argue and yell at each other and tell us everything is fine. If you're only there to keep you guys a family or something along those lines, don't fight for your kids. I don't know your situation or frankly how a lot of the laws work on that stuff. Think of your own mental health as well. You deserve better than that. Best of luck. I think the most important thing to consider here is your kids. It is not a healthy environment for your kids. You do a lot more damage to your kids forcing them to live in an unhappy home than you do by separating. Do you want this to be the example of love and happiness your kids grow up with? If your wife wants to keep seeing the man she is cheating on you with, there is no point in staying in this marriage. For many people, a spouse or any significant other continuing to have any contact with the person they cheated with would be an immediate deal breaker. You have 3 kids with your wife. I understand you don't want to hurt them, but from I have read about children of divorced parents are hostile. I'm willing to bet you no longer trust your wife. And while I'm in no way saying that you and your wife are hostile towards each other, being unable to trust your so would certainly create a very unpleasant atmosphere. Environment can also most definitely be damaging to children. Some things are damaging to children than a divorce. Kids are very smart, and they can tell when something isn't right. In my own personal opinion, I think a divorce is on the horizon. If she honestly doesn't want to stop seeing this guy and doesn't even give an inch of respect to how you, her husband, feels about it, your marriage has run its course. As someone whose dad only stayed for the kids, please don't. My sister and I used to cry together and pray my parents would separate. I told my dad this when I was an adult and he broke down and harbors so much regret for forcing us to live with a dysfunctional couple. He thought he was doing the right thing and preventing us from being in a broken home, but it was already broken. As someone who had parents that stayed together for the kids, kids typically always know when something isn't right. Personally, I would just leave. She's cheating on you and doesn't respect you enough to even stop and try to salvage the relationship. This isn't something healthy for your kids to witness. It sounds like there is no real marriage left, so you're only staying to give your kids a dysfunctional home. I would think asking her to move out if she's going to keep seeing her ex and start finding a lawyer. It will be hard at first, but I think it's the best option for your happiness and sanity, and for your children. Staying in a ducked up relationship for the kids is a completely nonsensical idea. The dysfunction that continues to exist will be worse in the long run. I've heard of more people who had damaging experiences in their childhood because of that philosophy than anything else. You're already divorced, just without the papers or the dignity. Parents staying together isn't automatically healthier or better for kids than having even just more or less amicable separated parents. Your kids are watching their mother disrespecting you as her husband and your marriage to the highest extent possible, and you taking it and therefore disrespecting yourself. Do you want your kids to grow up and find themselves in a relationship or even marriage where they act like either one of you? Staying in a toxic relationship for your kids is absolutely a bad idea. Watching your parents split up is hard, but it's nothing compared to the long-term psychological effects of them observing their parents try to function in a completely dysfunctional relationship. By staying, that's the relationship you're teaching your children to tolerate. They will base their expectations of future partners on what was going on in their home. By leaving, you will teach them that even with children and a history together, betrayal is betrayal and they should never tolerate that from someone who claims to love them, no matter the circumstances. So they call this an affair fog, where the cheater believes things are just so much better with the affair partner. It can take a lot for them to snap out of it, and your kids will suffer from her ambivalence more than a structured future, even if it's different from what life looks like now. If this is a deal breaker, and it is one of the most justifiable ones ever, then show her that it is. Ask her to move out, begin divorce proceedings, come up with a written custody schedule. If she doesn't work, give her a 1-month stipend to get a life together. That's generous, but more for your kids than for her. Show her what life without you is actually like. Don't engage her in conversation. Don't try and woo her back into your arms. She doesn't feel it yet. The pain, the regret. Right now she gets you both, all of what she wants. Divorce proceedings can be stopped. People can move back in together, but that requires work, and she needs to hear that message from you sooner rather than later. I'm very sorry for how this has rocked your world. If you search Affair Recovery Samuel in YouTube, you will find a ton of supportive useful videos. There are a lot of black holes of anger on the web that you can latch onto and get lost within. I hope you can avoid that painful route. Worldwide comments of the day. Contrary to popular belief, winning a breakup doesn't necessarily mean having better everything compared to your ex. Winning a breakup is about genuinely not giving a duck to what your ex is up to and not envying them for what they have and having a life. Moral of the story: Success is the best revenge. It's just so weird how you think of your ex as a competitor after you break up. I had this mindset for a few months and then realized that this is absolute BS. There was a reason you two didn't click. Even if he is successful and does better, you should be glad you aren't in an uncomfortable situation with him or her. You don't have to be happy for someone, but you shouldn't see their success as your failure. I don't know, man. Get yourself up and do better. For yourself. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more interesting and relatable Reddit videos.